All right, part 9. Let's go. So, where I left where I last left off is Deku helping out with the hero exams. Now, the only reason why this one's going to be hard is because of the fact that Deku already is out of school because he got the license. So, for him to be under Night Eye, we would have to go through some sort of like systematic thing. Whereas, like, I'm working with Night Eye, he's not under Night Eye. So, I mean, that's how it's going to be actually. Because I'm going to say, like, hmm. Actually, I know how it's gonna be. This is like after Deku like gets his like he's a hero, so he has to do hero work. So he's in school about 2 days out the week instead of like the regular 5. So I'm gonna say like on one of the days he's doing hero work because he's cloaked. He sees a little girl run out of the you see Erie. We all know Erie. I don't know how. It depends on how you see it, but he sees a little girl basically run out of, you know, it's the same shit as canon. I can't remember like the exact scene. But I remember was that Eri ran out of like, you know, the fuck yeah, it was a alleyway into Miria or La Million. But yeah, she ran into La Million, and Deku was right over the. He was Deku was in the corner basically looking over the whole thing, and because of that, shit, dropped the quarters. And because of that, he basically seen everything that happened, and he could tell that Mirio would have died right there if he wouldn't have let go of Eri. But you're asking, oh, why didn't Deku react? Well, a he wasn't a if he would have reacted, something stupid would have happened. Because mind you, he doesn't know his quirk, and by the way, looks of it, his quirk is kind of destructive, and you don't know why. You can look at Eri and tell he done something to her. And as much as people would have said, "Oh, he should have did this and that," well, obviously you would need to consider a lot of things. And Predator does. He says, "I don't know his quirk. I don't know what he can do. There's too many people around. That girl is still there, and there's going to be a lot more people in the way than there should be." So he obviously couldn't do anything there. So he let it happen. But he got like as soon as like they left sight, he came down and tapped Mirio and said, "Yeah, we got to get that guy." And when he asked like, "Oh, how do you know where he is?" He showed like there's basically he shows like a fly, not a fly, something that's hard to detect. Hmm, not a flea. What the fuck is it? No, not a slug. Anything like think of a small bug that's hard to detect, but can basically a small bug that you can't like feel or see. Give me a second. I'm drinking something. So yeah, he puts that on him, and he tells Muriel that okay, so we got the location now. So all we need is let's say he tells Muriel all we need is like people to help. Basically, Muriel says I know the guy, and goes to Sir Night Eye's office, and that interaction happens. Sir Night Eye knows of Predator, and he thinks he's kind of like over his britches and too young to be a hero. So he's kind of like looking down on him in a way. But Predator knows Sir Night Eye's power, and he just doesn't care. And Sir Night Eye's like, "Oh, prove yourself, yada yada, and all that." And when that scene happens, Predator doesn't really do much. He's like, "Okay, you can see in the future, but the future can change." And like that whole like fight scene happened. There's punches, kicks, and like that whole thing happens. And then there's something that Night Eye didn't see in the premonition is a feint, and then he got blasted with the freaking like shoulder blaster and sent into the wall. And that's when Deku said, "See, the future can change." And that's how that whole interaction went. And I basically respects Deku because he's like, he knew his quirk, he remembered his quirk, and said, "Okay, that's his quirk. Might as well just he accounted for it, and he's like, okay, he's seen one future, but there's countless more. He pulled the whole Doctor Strange thing. You know, when you've seen like millions of futures. Hmm. So besides that, nothing much really happens. Let's be honest here, because hmm, yeah, nothing much. It's just it goes straight into that arc. So we really don't need to worry about anything. That arc, so the arc begins. Ah, sorry, something. So in this arc, it's the same cast as usual. Or wait, no, was Uraraka there? I don't know if Uraraka was there, but it's the same cast as usual. But I'm only gonna be focusing on Deku. Sorry if you account for me to go for Aizawa and all that, but yeah, for this, Deku is tasked with sneaking in instead of them causing a whole like thing with burst into the door and shit. So it moves a lot smoother actually because you know the guy, the one tunnel guy wouldn't like feel Deku because it's a lot faster than he would expect. So he can hardly have any time to set up. The one drunk guy would have no effect on Deku because he get used to it. I mean, not used to it, but it's more like he wouldn't have time to set either. No one was really prepared. So Deku is like storming through the fucking building and pretty much just like moving at like a pace they didn't expect. He kind of pulled a Splinter Cell. Sir, we have fucking 40 dogs sweep the compound, the lasers on, there's like a million one guards walking around every corridor. There's no one here. Like, and then all of a sudden it's like dun 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 dun. If no one who's seen that video, you're missing out. That shit was completely accurate about Sam Fisher. It's like, sir, we had a million one dogs eat the compound. We had the lasers turned on. If there's no one here, basically. And yeah, that whole thing happened, and it was like, all right, so dun 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 dun, and nothing much really happened considering, because obviously I said everything that would happen. Like, no, he would be storming through, and he'd see, he gets the whole airy thing. Now, when he gets to airy, and fucking quirk gun guys, he sees they have firearms, and he's like, "Oh, I'm kind of glad I played at this armor then." And that whole interaction. But what he does is special. Is because how invincible and stealthy he was. They weren't expecting him to meet them in the hallway instead of that big open room. So in that exact instant, because them two were close together, all they heard was, and that's the wind behind a punch, two punches, basically knocked them flat on their asses, and they were like, "What the fuck?" And Erie's gone, and they're like, "Wait, what the hell happened? We just had," and not knowing that Deku was like on top, like in is on top of the ceiling, crawling with Eri like on his chest. And basically they're looking around, and the guy just the deconstruction and reconstruction guy starts going ham, and this knocks Deku to the floor and turns off his cloaking. He's like, "Oh fuck, here we go," and he bounces up, and he's like, "I knew it. That's what his quirk was." And he's taking the proper things to do now because of this small hallway. He has to be on guard, so these two are locked in combat. And what I mean combat is this nigga is trying to touch Deku to deconstruct him, deconstruct him, Deku's basically just like like deflecting him and just knocking him back. But because everyone forgets about this, uh, in like the offshoots, the guy would try to shoot Deku, but a bug would get in the way, and I mean, with like one of the quirk deleting bullets, and a bug will get hit, and basically the more he shoots, the more bugs get in the way. So he's kind of in a stalemate with both of them, and then he decides to I mean he's Yakuza and I could claim self defense, and there's nothing I could do. So he waits for the proper moment, kicks his arm, kicks the guy's like hand or arm into the air. It sorry, and it destroys like a considerable amount of earth and reveals like smoke and where they are. And in that moment, Deku basically hurried up and hit him with the one of the things in his back that no one knows about. One of the like arm things. He went through, shot it through his stomach, then came back out and went into his back, then disappeared into the smoke. Ah, that tastes good. But and then everyone's sitting here like, what? And then all I see is like he's on the ground bleeding out, and his assistant is sitting there like confused and is like, "Stay back! I got a gun!" And then he's like shooting at people, but everyone's behind cover, so no one's getting hit. While the rest of the team is clearing out the whole entire base. No, Deku does not see. I mean, he sees Toga, but he's here for Eri. That's his mission. So as soon as he gets Eri, he decides to go back in. And by that time, Toga, Twice are gone, and it's just like the guy with the gun and the bleeding out guy. I forget who, but yeah, you know who. So in that time period, he put Eri in like the freaking people's arms in Lemillion's, and Lemillion and him went down there, and they just fucked him up. Let's be honest here. That guy would reconstruct his stomach, and Lemillion and Predator just would ape shit on them too. Like fucking Lemillion has one for all. Let's not forget that. Plus, he has the body for it and would know how to use it. So him and Deku are just folding this nigga. And when I say folding, I mean he does one move, bop, do do do, bop. It looks like freaking Frieza in Goku versus Jiren. But Jiren doesn't get to any of the fucking like no freaking move that the freaking eye flash hits in. It's just straight beefing. Like the whole underground is getting destroyed. Fat Gum in them, Kirishima in them, already out doing their like already recovering, and they just see like a huge Dragon Ball Z fight that's just going into the air and shit. And you know how that ends. It's just like you can't beat two people at once, especially with two strong people at once. With Predator basically shooting him down with a pulse gun, and Lemillion basically saying you like United States of Smash and basically destroying his fucking spine and rib cage. And that's a pause moment because we know how how people are these days. But you know how that shit is. Basically punched him so hard he fucked up his whole entire being. Like, let's talk about that. He punched this man in the stomach so hard this dude puked up his breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This boy punched him so hard I can see his stomach coming out of his mouth. He punched the shit out of him. So, that's actually a 14-minute mark, surprisingly. I thought it was a lot longer, so I'm gonna just go into the next arc. Because, like, after that whole happens, we all know what happens. Uh, hmm. Oh, I know what happens. So, instead of, like, Aizawa taking Eri and stuff, Eri would go into the hospital, as we all know. But because Deku is no longer a student, he basically tells Aizawa, like, hey, I'll take care of Eri, so there's nothing you need to worry about. And uh, fuck. And in this one, Mario doesn't lose his quirk. because he never got shot because the guy who had the cork stealing bullets got folded. Plus, he ran out of bullets shooting at the police and shit. So ah, so it's basically like after as time passes, Predator sees Airy, and all sorts of stuff. And before you ask, no, I'm not going to the remedial arc because there's no point. That's not Deku's story. So, wait, school festival? Oh, oh, I remember that shit. That shit was fucking fire. So I say weeks would pass, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was weeks, considering. No, it couldn't have been weeks. Um, yeah, actually, it was weeks. Hmm. It was actually, yeah, it was weeks. Ah, I see. So basically, I'm gonna just say this now. After this, this is a good point to ask because there's like two more arcs, and I want to see what people want me to do. Do you want me to continue into the manga, or do you want me to just stop altogether and catch and wait for the anime to catch up? Because I'm reading off the arcs, and there's only two more arcs left in the show, which is obviously the Sports Festival and the Pro Hero arc. If you want me to continue, I'll. If you want me to continue into the manga, I'll do both the arcs. I'd say I'll give you guys about a week. Depends on how I see it, because I like Predator and I want to continue doing it, but because many people don't read the manga or watch the show, it's hard to do it because you know what I mean. Not watch the, don't watch the show. Don't read the manga, so I can't really, push it into the manga chapters. Plus I'd have to read the manga and I know what happens in most of the chapters. I left off where like fucking what's the name? I can't spoil. I'm not gonna spoil it. Never mind. But yeah, I'm gonna stop it here. I thought I was gonna continue, but there's no point. So yeah, it's up to you guys actually if you want me to continue the series into the manga. Because if we continue to the manga, it's not that long considering because you got the. I mind you, I still have to watch it because we still have like one arc, then another arc, then another arc. Let's see. After this one, we got like, let's see, one, two, three, four arcs left, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm leave that up to you guys. Thank you for watching, and sorry, the Predator series is known for being like probably 20 to 30 minutes long, but I can't really do it this time. Besides talking about how Deku and Erie would bond, and no one really wants to hear that because it's obvious you form a bond over time. But yeah, see you guys in a bit.